Should I get an inspection? What does it entail and who pays for it? When meeting with new home buyers, these are the most common questions I hear. Hello, I'm Justin Campbell with eXp Realty and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to talk about the home inspection. This video is geared more towards first-time home buyers, but it will be a great video for anybody looking to transact either on the buy side or sell side to learn a little more about the home inspection and home inspection process. In this video, we're going to break down everything you need to know about the home inspection process and why you should always do some form of an inspection on a purchase. Be sure to stay all the way to the end because I'm going to give you a tip that you can use in a really hot market to win without an inspection contingency. Also, the only time I'll advise against an inspection contingency. Every homeowner starts off as a first-time home buyer. Considering that approximately 20% of Americans are in some form of the trades, that leaves 80% of Americans who know very little about homes and how they're constructed. That's the number one reason why I recommend an inspection, because an informed decision is the only kind. In hot markets with multiple offers, buyers drop the inspection, thinking the only way they can get the seller to accept the offer is to remove the inspection contingency. This is mostly true, but it isn't the primary thing sellers consider when reviewing multiple offers. Sellers will also consider the earnest money, percentage down, financing type, and any additional contingencies. Buyers can still create very strong offers with inspection, so keep that in mind when considering writing an offer on a property that has multiple offers. When a seller accepts an offer contingent on an inspection, the property is still technically active. And that means until the inspection is complete and any subsequent negotiations have been completed, that the property is still technically available for sale. That also means that the buyer has the ability to negotiate on price and or repairs. There's 4 things that can happen post-inspection for issues that come up. The seller can agree to complete the repairs. The seller can offer the buyer a concession or credit at closing, or they could tell the buyer to take a hike, or some combo of the 3. The 4th option is the nuclear option. If for some reason the buyer and seller cannot come to terms, they will sign a cancellation agreement and the earnest money is refunded to the buyer as long as this happens within the inspection period. During the inspection, the buyer has all of the power and can cancel for any reason. The buyer can cancel because they believe the moon landing was not real, and the earnest money would be refunded to the buyer, even though we all know the moon landing was real. It's important to keep in mind that the purpose of the inspection is not to rehash the price. We really want to focus in on any health and safety related issues and anything that was not prior disclosed or any item that would impact future use and enjoyment for the buyer. Taking a look at costs, an inspection on a single family house runs between $350 to around $650. The scope of the inspection will be to test the furnace, the appliances, insulation in the attic and basement, the roof, electrical wiring and outlets, the visible structure, and all the really important areas of the house. Every inspector has a different price range, so definitely price this out depending on what your specific needs are. The inspection takes anywhere from 3 to 5 hours. The inspector will arrive early to complete the inspection, and there'll be a time for the buyer to meet with the inspector at the property once they've completed the inspection. They will also provide you a complete report that usually takes an additional half a day or day to get that report pulled together and sent out for your review. The buyer will be required to pay the inspector prior to booking the appointment, and inspectors have access to our MLS and showing time, and they will book that appointment with the listing agent. There will be some variance on fees if it's larger than normal or if it's a condominium or townhouse, depending on the type of property, so just let the inspector know the property type and size, and they can get you a more accurate price quote. As an agent, I typically do not go to the inspection. I will show up right at the last few minutes just to make sure to meet with both the inspector and the buyer. My job as a real estate agent is to help formulate a strategy post-inspection moving forward, not to muddy up the inspection. If for some reason my buyer cannot make it to an inspection, I will meet with the inspector, go over the report, and then either record a video or call my client via Zoom, FaceTime, or Google Meet. It's very important for the buyer to review this information and ask those questions directly to the inspector. Let's take a look at some other types of inspections that buyers can have completed on a property. And price varies, so be sure to check with the individual inspector to find out what the actual cost will be. The next type of inspection that I recommend is a radon inspection. Radon is an odorless, colorless gas that is naturally occurring in the environment and is lighter than air. And so that means any properties that have a basement or below grade area will be at risk for this dangerous gas. As a personal anecdote, I have a close personal family member who lost their life as a result of radon, so I find a basement, I'm going to be very proactive about recommending a radon test. If the home doesn't have a basement, a radon test isn't going to be very useful. And if the home has a basement and you have no intention of using it, a radon test may not be necessary. This is obviously going to be dependent on each individual property and your use. I 100% recommend that if you do have living space below grade, and or especially if you have children who are going to be living in the basement, then it's highly recommended to do a radon test. If the property does have radon levels that are above recommended safe levels, there's actually a really easy and effective solution, and that is a radon mitigation system. Radon mitigation systems vary in total price for approximately $2,000 and is a relatively simple system to install and operate. It uses a sump type pump that vents the radon gas out through the top of the roof using PVC pipe. Who's responsible for installing a radon system? Occasionally, sellers will agree to install a radon mitigation system prior to close. The other option would be to get a seller credit and to have that radon mitigation system installed after you close on the property. Some sellers may not offer a credit to do the system, and so it'll be up to the buyer to make a decision on whether or not to move forward. The next type of inspection would be a sewer inspection. Some cities require a sewer inspection prior to closing on a property, and also some homeowners will do a sewer inspection prior to listing the property, in which the next type of inspection would be a sewer inspection. Some cities require a sewer inspection prior to closing on a property, and also some homeowners will do an inspection prior to listing the property in the market, which I recommend if you're in an area where there's a high incidence of sewer-related issues on homes. During a sewer inspection, a technician will run a scope and camera through the cleanout, down the sewer line, and to the city connection. They'll be looking for any cracks, blockage, or any low areas or roots that are intruding on the effectiveness of the sewer. Of all the issues you could have in a home, the sewer backing up is probably the number one negative outcome that you want to avoid. If the pipe is cracked and or roots get in there and it backs up, your costs could be anywhere between $10,000 and $20,000 to have a sewer company come out with an excavator, expose the pipe, and update it. In some cases, there could be a very simple solution, which is a sewer sleeve. This is basically a piece of plastic that sleeves to the original drain. The cost varies on this, and again, this could be another item that the seller agrees to repair in advance, or could offer a concession that the buyer could use post-close to have a sleeve installed. Moving on to the next type of inspection, many properties in Minnesota will have a fireplace. There are two basic types you could have, which are a wood-burning and gas-burning fireplace. There are obviously some other types that are less frequent, such as wood-burning boilers or other heating type devices, but the primary type of fireplace that you're going to encounter in a purchase would either be gas or wood. When it is a wood-burning fireplace, my recommendation to any buyer purchasing a home is that no matter what, assume that the fireplace is non-functioning and do not use it until you've had a chimney inspection completed. Nobody wants to start a little fire on Christmas morning with everybody sitting around in their pajamas and then have the whole house burned down. The number one priority that a chimney inspection will look for is to make sure that the flue is in good shape and that it doesn't have any unsafe level of creosote built up. One option for many homeowners for a wood-burning fireplace, and that you don't have any intention to use, is you could do a gas insert. This can be several $1,000s depending on what type of gas insert you'd like to use, but is a good option considering that there's a lot of maintenance and potential issues that could come from using a wood-burning fireplace in the house. The exterior chimney inspection will make sure that there are no cracked, missing, or broken bricks, and also that the chimney cap is in good shape. If the cap is deteriorated, that could lead to water getting down through the chimney and into the rest of the house. When these type of items are found on an inspection, they could be repaired by the seller, or again, a credit could be offered to the buyer at closing. Moving on to the next type of inspection that buyers will get is a mold inspection. Mold spores are everywhere in the air and they make up a huge part of our environment and actually are the driving force behind almost all life. In Minnesota, where we have high levels of humidity, mold could be a concern, and so you could also hire an inspector to come out and test the air and or materials in the home to see if there's mold present and or what type of mold. This inspection is going to cost a little bit more and can take longer to get the results back. But if you have sensitivity to these type of environmental conditions, I would definitely recommend getting a mold inspection on a property where you may have some additional questions. Here's a little fact about the inspection that many buyers don't know. You can have anybody you want to come out and look at the property. You can have Ryan Seacrest come out and do an inspection. The only issue that comes up is if some sort of damage is done during the inspection, you could be responsible for that. So it is important that if you do to use an inspection company, that they have some type of liability insurance so that you don't have to assume any liability yourself. Now, this is not an exhaustive list of the different types of inspections one could do, but in consultation with your real estate agent and the overall condition of the property, there's really no limit to what you can have inspected. The only limiting factor is being overly intrusive. So you can like rip the siding off to figure out what's behind the wall. The length of the inspection is negotiable. It could be as little as a day or up until the date of closing. And in conversations with your real estate agent and figuring out what type of inspections you want could inform on how long of an inspection period you will need. I usually start off with a week, and if it's a property that maybe there isn't going to be so many issues and it's a Sunday night, I'll recommend 3 days. Obviously, if it's a week before Christmas and you got all the holidays coming up in the next week, you may need to extend that out if an inspector isn't available. Let's say the seller agrees to do some repairs. I will draft what is called an inspection contingency amendment that says that when the repairs will be completed, by whom they'll be completed, and what completion would actually look like. I mentioned at the beginning of the video that I'd offer you one little caveat to the inspection contingency and how you could use an inspection in a hot market without having it be contingent. You could have an inspection done prior to writing an offer. Now, this isn't going to be available in all situations, but if it's a really great house and you really love it and you want to put in an offer on it, there's always the possibility to have your inspector or a contractor come take a look at the property during your tour and give you information about the overall condition of the property so that you can make an informed decision, including not requesting an inspection contingency. That wraps up this video. If I missed something or if you have any questions, throw a comment down below. If you got value from this video, could you do me a favor and just tickle that like button for me? I'd really appreciate it. If you're looking to transact in the future, be sure to subscribe to this channel for tips, tricks, and market information to get you ready to make your next purchase or sale a success. I'm Justin Campbell, and we'll see you in the next video.